Hey broskies, it's Zona. So, as some of you may know, last video I drew Disney princesses evil. But this time I'm drawing Disney villains if they were good. Let's go! So the first Disney villain we'll be turning good is Ursula from The Little Mermaid. Now in my other video I turned Ariel evil since she is my favorite Disney princess and Ursula just so happens to be my favorite Disney villain. I absolutely love Ursula's energy. She's funny, confident, sassy, and just a very iconic character. There's a lot of villains I could say, you know, just make me mad because they're so evil, but I just love Ursula. She's the best. Despite being evil, she has a lot of positive vibes. In the original, Ursula was kicked out of the Sea Kingdom because of her black magic. Knowing that Ariel is in love with the prince on land, Ursula lures Ariel into her lair, telling her she can turn her into a human with her black magic, and at the cost of Ariel's voice. Under Ursula's contract, Ariel must have true love's kiss with the prince within 3 days, or Ariel becomes seaweed. Ursula does all of this to trick Ariel, using her eels to sabotage everything to get her way. And because of this, Ariel is unable to keep her deal and is almost imprisoned by Ursula, but her dad, King Triton, saves her by offering his freedom instead. Ursula takes his powerful trident and attempts to take over the sea in a big fight, but the prince ends up killing her at the end on his ship with a harpoon. My favorite part in the movie is definitely when Ursula sings Poor Unfortunate Souls. She dances and is so sassy. Like I said, I love her energy. So as we know, in the movie Ursula used her magic to transform insecure merfolk to look different, to be what they considered more attractive. Ursula is also shown doing her makeup as well as some spicy dancing. This all gave me the impression she is in fact a very confident and high energy woman, which to me is awesome. So my idea for a good Ursula is that she's a beauty guru who uses her magic to give merfolk a makeover and help them love themselves more. Instead of, you know, putting them under a deal where they could potentially turn into seaweed, they would just pay for her services normally, probably with like clams or something. No tricky business like original evil Ursula would do. Not only that, but I also imagine Ursula would be giving positive talks while doing their makeover. You know, telling them things like, confidence is the most attractive feature and your flaws don't define your beauty. So kind of like when you go to a haircut place and the person cutting your hair asks you about your life story and all that and you just talk a lot. She'd be kind of like one of those people but 10 times cooler. Because her customers go to her a lot of the time because they're insecure, not only would the physical glow up boost their confidence, but so would Ursula's words of encouragement. I just think the whole guru thing makes perfect sense for Ursula, again because she does her makeup a lot, and yeah, I wanted Ursula's outfit to really pop since she's so flamboyant. First thing I did was give her hair more style. I have it curled back into these swirls and also low-key to represent a seashell, like the one on her necklace. Ursula's black dress very much suit her and I didn't want to get rid of that completely, so instead I added accessories to give it more pizzazz. At the top are 2 golden seashells with the dress lacing down, connected to another seashell which has a strand of colorful pearls across both sides. I also gave her a beautiful hairpiece made of the same accessories, and connected to the top are seaweed straps. No, not the people she turned into seaweed, just regular seaweed cause she likes seaweed, I guess. Down below I added shiny pretty jewels and crystals to her octopus suckers, and yes, that's what they're called. Don't make weird comments, please. I also drew Ursula holding various beauty supplies like lipstick, a blush brush, mirror, etc. Just to finish off her outfit, I added some scattered tiny crystals to her black dress. She's smiling big and ready to give people a glow up. Also, I don't know if it's noticeable, but this was definitely harder for me to draw as I am not used to this kind of style. I will admit, I've been guilty of not experimenting and drawing more body types. It was actually super fun and I absolutely loved drawing Ursula. She looks fabulous. Here is Ursula the Sea Beauty Guru. Up next is Cruella de Vil from the movie 101 Dalmatians. Yeah, her name is a pun for how evil she is, that's pretty funny. Now, I actually didn't see this movie until very recently. It's pretty old and I was shocked to see how dark it was. The movie is about 2 Dalmatian dogs who met through their owners falling in love. Cruella, the villain, is shown early on talking to the owners, expressing her love for fashion and fur coats. Later in the movie, the dogs have 15 puppies together. That must have hurt. And immediately after they do, Cruella de Vil bursts in and claims she wants to buy all the puppies. However, the owners refuse to sell them to her, resulting in her getting very angry and barging out. More later on, 2 criminals hired by Cruella break into the couple's home while they're away and steal all 15 puppies. The criminals take them back to the castle where it's found out she plans on using 99 puppies' skin to make fur coats, which is really messed up. Like 99 puppies? How did you even get those? The parent dogs find out from other canines that Cruella is in fact the one who stole the puppies and they run away from home, making their way to her castle. After a fight with the criminals, criminals, the 2 dogs and all the puppies manage to escape, going on a long journey, nearly getting caught many times as Cruella and the criminals look for them. Throughout the movie, Cruella gets crazier and crazier, even going as far as to try to crash a truck carrying the puppies. But instead, her car crashes instead, which is so satisfying to watch. I'm not a bad person, I swear. She deserved it. They lost sight of the puppies for good, allowing them to return home safely. This movie was a wild ride, literally, and out of any Disney villain I've come across, I think I can say Cruella is the cruelest. I have zero sympathy or forgiveness for anyone who tries to hurt animals like dogs and cats, especially to this extent, like Jesus. So anyways, in a universe where Cruella is good, in my version she is vegan and loves animals rather than harming them. She also owns a fashion company that uses only cruelty-free vegan materials in her products. So basically the opposite of her old fashion line. For example, instead of real fur, she'd use fox fur, which is fake, and other high-quality cruelty-free materials for her coats. This business would also have a huge advantage as cruelty-free vegan stuff wasn't as common back then, resulting in her having less competitors and more sales. Not only that, but 30% of the company's earnings would go towards helping animals in need. And since Cruella is so passionate about animals in this universe, she also turned half of her big castle into her own animal shelter. I noticed in the movie that her castle looked a little empty, so there. By the way, smoke is very bad for animals to inhale as well, so in my version, she has no pipe. Do not smoke near your animals. In her redesign, first thing I did was give her hair more life, because it looks kind of raggedy in the original, not gonna lie. Don't come at me, it's true, we all know it. Instead, I styled it as wavy and bouncy. I also drew her head less pointy, because that's kind of a theme with Disney villains. They design them that way to make them look more evil, and we don't want that, obviously. Her dress is kind of just black. Since she's a fashion designer, I wanted to spruce that up. I ended up making it into this red mermaid tail style dress full of glitter to give Cruella more glam. I also included some white pearls at the top rim of her dress. Following below, she's wearing these long, stylish black boots as well as black gloves on her arms. Don't worry guys, the fur coat she's wearing is not made out of real fur. Like I said, cruelty-free material, no puppies were harmed in the making of this video. She still loves Dalmatian dogs and their patterns, so in her coat the spots are shaped as hearts. I made her facial makeup a bit brighter, and lastly she is smiling, holding a puppy up to her face as it gives her kisses. Oh yeah, and at the end I gave her a fashionable barrette because it looks nice, and also it looks artsy. Here is not so Cruella de Vil. Did you see what I did there? Last on this list is Captain Hook from the Peter Pan movie, and this movie follows a girl named Wendy who doesn't want to grow up. She eventually meets Peter Pan, a young boy who never ages, and he uses his fairy friend Tinkerbell to sprinkle pixie dust on Wendy and her brothers to make them fly and take them to Neverland. In Neverland, children remain young forever, like they don't age. Wendy and her brothers also meet the Lost Boys, which are other children Peter took to Neverland. However, Captain Hook, Peter Pan's enemy, is introduced later on, expressing his hatred for Peter, wanting him dead. He hates him because apparently Peter cut off his hand and fed it to a crocodile, which is why he has a hook. That's pretty funny. Many times throughout the movie, Captain Hook fights Peter Pan and eventually captures Wendy and the Lost Boys, making them walk the plank, but Peter comes in and saves them just in time. Peter fights Hook, throwing him into the sea where he gets chased away by the crocodile. Then they take over his ship, making it fly with pixie dust and returning Wendy and her brothers home. I watched this movie when I was super young, so I had to rewatch a lot of clips to remember what happened exactly. I chose Captain Hook for this video because I always thought of him as a very goofy villain, and also due to certain story origins and theories. The supposed original story of Peter Pan is a very dark version of the one we know from the cartoon film. According to some articles I've read, in the original version, Neverland is a place where kids never grow up because Peter Pan takes them there and actually kills them before they get to grow up, which I mean is really dark, but technically makes sense. You can't grow up if you're dead. Anyways, this really tells me Peter isn't as good as he may be portrayed, at least not in the supposed original story. And so this leaves a great spot for me to turn Captain Hook good. My concept is that Captain Hook was originally a lost boy who was friends with Peter when he was young. His actual name is James, by the way. However, Peter saw that James was growing older, which he didn't like, leading him to eventually try and kill him. But he failed, and young James went into hiding on the island away from Peter. With no way out, he was stuck there and forced to grow up in Neverland. He eventually comes across an abandoned ship and he took it over. However, knowing there was still lost boys in Neverland who would eventually be killed by Peter, he decided he would stay to try and rescue and bring home any lost boys who would come across his ship. For many years, Hook and Peter do fight, but Hook stays strong and keeps fighting and surviving, determined to rescue as many lost boys as he can while he stays in Neverland. I do want to quickly point out that my concept isn't 100% original, as there is a story where it is said Hook originally is a lost boy, but yeah, either way, I think my concept is super cool. As for my redesign of Hook, I mainly focused on making him much older, Peter. Since he stayed in Neverland so long, he's aged a lot and his hair has grown long and gray. He also grew a beard. Since his hair is so long, I made it braided at the bottom. The colors on his coat are faded out more and has many rifts and has been tattered throughout the years of wear and tear. By the way, he got the outfit from a dead pirate skeleton he found on the ship. As you can see, one of his legs is also gone since Peter cut that off too. I gave Hook this tough stance and expression because he's very determined to save those kids. The thing about Hook is that in the original, he's also kind of a coward. Whenever Peter is about to actually defeat him, he tricks him or begs for mercy, and he also relies a lot on his servants to do dirty work for him. So in my version, he's also more of like a tough, stubborn old man character, and he fights for what he believes in. I guess you could say I wanted his character to be very wise, but also a bit tragic, since he's been through so much during his long stay at Neverland. Some kids he was able to save, but unfortunately there are many where he wasn't able to save them, and because of this, he feels a lot of guilt. I also had the idea of Tinkerbell eventually realizing how twisted Peter is, leading her to join forces with Captain Hook and sprinkle pixie dust on the ship, so whenever they rescue a lost boy, they can take them home by flying. I did struggle a bit with this one, as the style is definitely much different from what I usually do, but he turned out super cool. Here is Captain Hook, savior of the Lost Boys. Hey broskies, thanks so much for watching. I really had so much fun drawing these Disney villains good. If you enjoyed, please leave a like, and also let me know if you want a part 2 of this because I'm totally down to make a part 2. Also let me know if you want part 2 of turning Disney princesses evil. And if I do a second part, let me know what characters. I work super duper hard on these videos, so if we can reach 20k likes on this, that would be awesome. And yeah, okay, bye!